I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist with degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy, and a national certification in integrative mental health. In this video, I'm not looking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Maggie Thompson is presenting the work titled The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, written by J.J. Hurtak. Maggie Thompson is not validating nor supporting Hurtak's views, epiphanies, visions, beliefs, or words. Maggie Thompson is simply presenting the work as written and is attempting to translate this extraordinarily esoteric work to a common vernacular and understanding. Further, Maggie Thompson understands this work to be solely concerning the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and while Hurtak views his work to be the key or keys to uniting all the world's people under one religion, namely Abrahamic, Maggie Thompson does not support this premise whole cloth. However, this work does give depth and insight into the connection of physics, cosmology, biology, and spirituality, which, for the seeker of divine truth, can be invaluable for the discovery of one's place in the universe, and that may be under the hierarchy of Yahweh, the Ancient of Days, or a hierarchy that exists above or beside such deities, or none altogether. Maggie Thompson implores all seekers of knowledge to, letter A, not accept what a person of authority tells you without validation. This includes looking at critiques and the opposing views with an open mind. Letter B, accept that religion, as well as science and politics, is presented as a means of indoctrination and is always presented with the biases of the overall field or system, the authors of texts, and the presenter, whose goals are to convince you of the, quote, truth, end quote, of their premise or premises. Letter C. It is possible to take insight, truths, and information from a biased work. Any body of work for the purpose of deeper meaning and knowledge must be carefully excavated and carved to glean wisdom. And letter D. No work or bodies of work that is believed by a large group or populace of people should be dismissed out of hand simply because you do not believe it. We live in a diverse time where religious belief takes center stage in the governing of the collected masses. To truly understand the barriers and gateways to your personal success and fulfillment, you must accept that believers of any kind can and will do what is necessary to meet their goals.
Hello, hello. We are here to continue the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch. I believe we're on part 29, but we're 2/3 of the way through. So this is key 2-1-6 on pages 319 to 326. And it states, quote, the keys to future radiophysics, radioastronomy, and communication will be in the chambers of living light, which will reach towards the wisdom of the many universes through, quote, the crystal tongues of living fire, end quote. So we're going to get into it. But first, let me say hello to some people. Auntie is first. My favorite Auntie is in here. Hi with the peace sign. Hi, Auntie. Cosmic Surfer TV is here. Hello to you as well. Armando is here. Peace to you. Vincent is here. Hello from Hawaii. Spain Man is here. Hola. Let me just flip right over that. And Adrian is here. And he's, oh, goodness. Let's go. Oh. And Leon is here. Thanks for being here, everybody. And for those of you watching from the clouds, please feel free to say hello. You will be welcomed as long as you're appropriate. This is the best live tribe on YouTube. And also shout out to the replay gang. So we're going to use multiple concepts, a little bit of TVA from Disney's Loki series, although we've gone a little past that, and the Force from Star Wars to make J.J. Hertock's excessively esoteric work into something not soteric. I will be critiquing his premises as well as offering some guidance because it has become clear to us that this book represents the playbook of Christian dispensationalism and Jewish mysticism. So we can dissect this book to understand what global powers might be up to. So this key focuses on crystals for communication. So the full reading is available on this channel. I did put it up yesterday. It was a little late, but better late than never. But that's okay. You don't have to read it before or listen to it before or after, because I'm going to read the highlights. Leon says, I'm chilling at the park giving my son some bike cycling lessons. Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. Okay, so let's get into some highlights. All right. He says, key number 16 is speaking of the greater unity we will share with many universes when we begin to use, quote, crystal tongues of living fire, end quote, to achieve even greater knowledge beyond what can be achieved by contemporary radiophysics, radio astronomy, and communications. These, quote, crystal tongues of living fire, end quote, are activated crystals, which are used to carry on communication with star regions of intelligences operating within or beyond our electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, so let's talk crystals. I'm always happy to talk crystals. You should see all the crystals over here. Most of them were given to me by my grandson who passed in January, but his favorite thing was always to find Nana pretty rocks and crystals. And so I have tons over here. I have a lot anyway, but let's talk crystals. Crystals get a bad rap in society, especially nowadays, which should be a clue maybe that they actually mean something, right? Because we kind of live in the upside down right now. Okay. Why else the disinformation campaign about crystals? Crystals get lumped into woo-woo and like hippie girls. Hippie girls are called crystal bitches, right? I get it. Some people have weaponized spirituality or used it as something that it is not, especially lately. But that doesn't mean the spirit of spirituality is bad or wrong. So let's get into crystals. You may not believe in crystals, right? But the following things operate on crystal technology. Okay, here's a list of what we use crystal technology for. Quartz oscillators are found in computers, smartphones, and digital watches for time and processor cycles. Surface acoustic wave devices are used in smartphones, GPS units, and Wi-Fi for filtering and frequency control. Piezoelectric crystals are found in microphones, guitar pickups, and ultrasound transducers for converting electrical signals. Crystal filters are used in radio transmitters, satellite communications, and cell towers for precise frequency selection. Crystals like yttrium aluminum and garnet are used as lasing mediums in fiber optic networks. Crystals are used for microwave signals in radar, 5G, and military communication systems to stabilize high frequency. Piezoelectric energy harvesters use crystals embedded in wearable devices that generate power from vibration, like the perpetual power puck, right? The bionic power knee harvester used by the military, the Mind Vulture in wireless industrial monitoring systems, and the Revibe energy reap, which is used for rail, wind, and heavy industry energy harvesting. The government is using this free energy in all of its tech, but has us pay for nuclear energy at home. Interesting, huh? All right, but let's keep going. Ultrasound machines also use another crystal technology to detect high frequency sound waves. Laser cutting crystals are used for precise cutting, cauterizing, and for tattoo removal. Quartz-based gyroscopes are used in aircraft, spacecraft, and submarines. Avionic crystal oscillators are used in flight control systems. We all know about quartz watches that use quartz to keep time. Turntable needle assemblies use piezoelectric elements to convert groove vibrations into electrical signals. And some digital to analog converters use crystal oscillators for ultra-low jitter. So we can say we don't believe in crystals and crystals are woo-woo, but all technology uses crystals, right? Leon says people love Star Wars but hate crystals. There's crystals all through Star Wars, right? So where this crystal tech is going now, because they haven't even reached the limits of what crystals can do. I just talked about what the military is doing, right? They use crystals to create free energy through movement. But crystal tech is also being used to develop optical photonic computing, quantum computing, and holographic data storage. They are using crystals for all of that. Auntie says, yay for crystals. Yes. Auntie also shares my love of pretty rocks. So crystals aren't just some new age hippie crap, right? No matter what we think of it, they are the backbone of all of our tech right now, and especially where we're going in the future. The future of tech is crystals. This list that I gave you is just a small example of crystal technology that we use today. So let's see where her talk is going with this crystal communication technology, because it kind of sounds like we're already using it now. Okay, so he says, however, radio astronomers will begin to discover anti-gravity sets of crystallized particles by using improved radio synthesis having ultraviolet sensitivity. The control of these sets will help establish a more universal communication system in the intergalactic medium. Okay, so now remember, he wrote this book a long time ago. So over 22 years later, it doesn't seem that we've discovered anti-gravity like he said we were going to discover these anti-gravity crystals. And I say seems because if the military discovered it, there's no way we would know yet until they want to tell us. But what we have discovered is acoustic levitation. Using what? Piezoelectric crystals. The ones they're still working on are optical levitation using lasers, which I told you how lasers use crystals, and superconducting levitation with magnetic fields called the Meissner effect. It uses crystal superconductors as well. These are not anti-gravity, but they are levitating. So levitation, yes. Anti-gravity, no. Vincent says gamma rays. Yeah, as part of the laser technology. Adrian says, I'm a fan of dilithium crystals because of Star Trek. Yes. Cosmic Surfer says rare earth. Yeah. And particle waves. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. So let's keep going with whatever he's talking about. Okay. So then he says crystals are to be used as cyborg, not Borg, cyborg devices to amplify and filter communication signals. Well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today, right? That's Wi-Fi. That's all these communication signals. That's satellite technology, right? So, he called it. He called it. All right, let's keep going. From the synthesis of gravitational and anti-gravitational waveforms, myriads of other waves are created which blend in sympathetic resonance thus forming the physical structures of communication. That sounds like holographics, does it not? The physical forms of communication. So we do have that now too, but it's, we're still developing a lot of it. Okay. So then he says, our planetary technology will be influenced by the higher evolution, which will place our communication satellites into new orbits and use them to channel instructions to our planetary systems. Even public communication channels are to be used by the higher evolution to reach all nations of the earth with the message of deliverance, giving strength to the testimony of the light workers. That sounds a little creepy, doesn't it? Right? Like the higher evolution is going to take the satellites and move them and use them and take over all of the TV channels. War of the Worlds, anybody? And to give a message, right? It just kind of, sounds like Earthlings, you must comply. Resistance is futile. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. I don't think the message that he's talking about is falling on the right ears. Okay, so then he says, these crystalline fields are to be found throughout the world in 12 subterranean channels where crystalline energy has been previously used to outfit a scientific technology. Now we have to talk about Bushagi. I don't know if you guys have heard of Bushagi, but we got to talk about Bushagi. Okay, so this is a side note and it's going to be very long, but I think you guys are going to find this super, super interesting. So in 2003, Pentagon satellites detected a large chamber under the Bushagi Mountains in Romania. Okay. The chamber, because he's talking about these channels, these light channels, and where the crystalline energy is. So we have to talk about Bushagi. This is why. Okay. There was a large chamber under Bushagi in Romania, in the mountains. Okay. The chamber was under the Romanian Sphinx. Yes, there is a Sphinx in Romania. You can look it up. Below 200 feet of solid rock. So 200 feet, that's a lot. 200 feet of solid rock and then this open chamber. Okay. But that's not new. And the Pentagon already knows about this because there's chambers under Sphinx's pyramids and in the mountains, even in North America. There's always a chamber, right? Chambers are found worldwide. Hi, Eddie. Thanks for being here. That wasn't Boo Shaggy. That was just Shaggy, Adrian, that made the song. Wasn't me. So they already know about that, but they found this new one, right, under the Sphinx in Romania. It's really as common as all the catacombs and necropolises under all of the Catholic churches that predate the churches by hundreds of years. The churches were always built on catacombs and necropolises. It's pretty well known. Okay. So side note, Romania has or had a similar project to the United States CIA project Stargate, which I've talked about on this channel before. Okay. It was called Department Zero. Okay. Hopefully you guys remember about Stargate, but it's pretty much using telepathy and going into the astral plane, all for spying technology. Okay. So they had theirs, which was called Department Zero. Now in Romania, people have heard of a sealed cave near the Sphinx. Like just in general, people know of the sealed cave that's near the Sphinx. Some people claimed that it was blocked from entering by an invisible field. Like this is just well known in Romania. Locals tell of a tunnel system that connects distant places across the world. The Romanians talk about this. So they were the people of Romania have known about this, and they've been talking about energy zones long before people theorized about ley lines or telluronic energy currents that we know of today, right? So before they were even discovered, people in Romania were talking about this, okay? So a book series about this was written by an insider about this stuff going on in Romania. The insider's name was Radu Cinemar. he said himself, he sells it as fiction so that he doesn't get in trouble and so the book will sell. But Cinemar himself says it's all true what's in there. This was his way of whistleblowing. Okay, so this is what Cinemar says. He tells of a time when a man who was raised at Department Zero, which remember is like the CIA Stargate, this kid was raised at Department Zero due to his gifts. Okay. He had some sort of gift. He could sort of prophetize and things like that. Yes, Leon, Haiti is an energy node on the ley lines. So, this man was taken on an exploration of the chamber. Okay, taken on an exploration. Who was paying for the exploration? None other than the Bilderberg Group. I'm not going to get into who the Bilderberg Group is on this one because we'd be talking for hours. Googler. You can Google it. We can talk about more later. Adrian can put some stuff in the chat. He knows about the Bilderberg Group. But here it is, Romania. There's a chamber. They decide they want to go and explore the chamber. To get to it, there's 200 feet of solid rock. So they have to use laser cutters with crystals to get through it, right? Who's paying for the whole thing? The Bilderberg Group. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So the story tells of ancient technology that defied all modern understanding at the time. Okay. There was a library of entities across the galaxy. So there's this library where you can see all of the different creatures that live in different areas across the galaxy. There was a genetic laboratory, a consciousness amplifier, and a huge container of monatomic gold. The monatomic gold is what the Bilderberg Group wanted. That's the reason why they paid for everything, because if there's any chance of finding monatomic gold, the Bilderberg Group wants it. Adrian says they're evil. What else do I need to say? So just as a quick thing, the Bilderberg Group is a group. Well, I mean, it's known, it's out there. This isn't like secret conspiracy theory stuff. The Bilderberg Group is all of the richest, like the richest men on the planet. And they meet and they devise how politics is going to go, how technology is going to go, how humans are going to move. They decide all of that. That's the Bilderberg Group. Okay. So monatomic gold, also known as Ormus, ORMUS, or M-state gold, that's how I know it, M-state gold, is superconductive. It has health and healing benefits and may also be the key to true spirituality. The alchemists, for thousands of years, referred to it as a necessary element of the philosopher's stone. It was also a key element in the elixir of life. Staying young forever, anybody? And we just can't seem to be able to make it ourselves out of gold. We know what it is when we take it down to one atom, right? Monatomic, right? We can't seem to make it in a lab ourselves. So now, as the group explored all the tech, right, they saw the history of the earth and that the Anunnaki stories from ancient Sumeria were true. The Anunnaki created a hybrid human, and the template was called Adamu. These hybrids were the rulers, the watchers, the Elohim, the deities and gods of old. And they lived so long due to monatomic gold. Now, the tunnels that they found in the chambers connected to other chambers and more chambers and more tunnels all the way across the world. The closest chamber, Baghdad. The spice of Dune could be, Leon. It really could be. an interesting bug that helps make this gold? I don't know. Yeah, Adrian, Anunnaki. That comes from Hecklefish on the Y-Files. Yeah, the Fountain of Youth, Cosmic Surfer. Exactly, exactly. So the closest chamber was in Baghdad, right? But the tunnels also led to Egypt and Tibet. World leaders at this time signed an agreement with Bilderberg. Okay. Bilderberg, no, I'm sorry. The world leaders can have the tech that is found in these chambers, and Bilderberg gets the monatomic gold. So Bilderberg will pay for it. They'll foot the bill. They get the monatomic gold. And these world leaders, especially the leaders over these specific areas, Romania, Baghdad, Egypt, and Tibet, get to keep the technology. Okay. Now, is Bilderberg going to have access to that technology? Of course. Is it mostly Americans? Obviously. Okay. So, is there proof of this story, right? Because Cinemar himself, he sells this as fiction. The book is sold as fiction, even though he himself says all of this is true. So we have to ask ourselves, is there any proof of this, right? Because it's all just sort of one person's word. Okay. The answer is yes and no. So there are no declassified documents from the Pentagon. There's no smoking gun. There's no other whistleblowers. However, we have the stories from Romania itself. All of the people who always talked about this before anybody ever went in there. And we know people went in there. They saw people dig this big hole under the Sphinx and go in there. Okay. We also have stories from Poland. So, Polish soldiers report that an alien or unknown civilization lived underground in the Romanian mountains. These are military people who say this because they had to go over there. Okay. The armies, all the Polish armies and the Romanian armies worked together to cover it up. So we have their stories. There is I'm going to have to look into that, Leon, that bug. So there is a Nazi base, the Reese, in the Owl Mountains of Romania that was reported to be an alien base. Even to this day, it is guarded. Even though it's a Nazi base, it has guards to this day. And the guards prohibit entry into the tunnels of the mountains, and they all speak German. This is in Romania. So we also know this, timeline-wise, by 7 months after the supposed discovery. So just short of 7 months after everybody watched him go in to do this, we have Cinemar, the whistleblower, saying all this. Within 7 months, Romania was let into the United Nations. And you may not say that's a big deal, but they had been trying to get into the United Nations for years and years and years and years. And they were always told, you're little, you're tiny, you don't have any power, you don't. But after this supposed world leaders made this agreement with Bilderberg, all of a sudden they were faster. They weren't just let in, they were fast tracked to become in at this same time, right? So a little more than 6 months. We know also that the Bilderberg group exists and that they are out and vocal about a one world government. The Bilderberg group is made up of the richest and most powerful men alive, but we don't get to know their names because as much as we think we know who the richest and powerful men alive are, we don't. We only know a few of them. Okay. We also know that the US government has to take out huge loans. This happens all the time. The US government has to take out loans. And who buys up and owns huge slices of the United States treasuries when they have to take out loans? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. that's a gigantic rabbit hole in and of itself. But the tops of those firms are all part of Bilderberg. So Bilderberg owns the notes of the US government. That's how rich they are. So the Romanian government has never denied Department Zero or this entire story. They never once have said this is not true. Yes, Hydra is real. They never once said it's not true about the Bushegi exploration and discoveries. The biggest smoking gun, though, is the 2003 Iraq invasion. Okay, because remember, all this starts in 2003. Sinamar himself claims that the Iraq invasion was because of the chamber that was found near Baghdad. We already know the reason they told us that we went to war was fake, right? There was never evidence of weapons of mass destruction. We never found weapons of mass destruction, right? And when we went to Iraq, it was obvious that that's not what we were looking for anyway, because immediately after the invasion, the US military secured specific archaeological sites. Not anywhere there would be weapons of mass destruction. They secured specific archaeological sites. The Baghdad Museum itself was looted while guards, US military guards, patrolled outside. Many tablets and objects were stolen by the US government. They say confiscated, stolen by the US government, and the rest was destroyed. And the Sumerian kings list, they just disappeared. The United States says they don't know where those are at all. There were no weapons of mass destruction in the Baghdad Museum, but that's where they went, and that's where they stole stuff. Okay. What they didn't take out of the museum was things of obvious value. That's the weird part, like gold statues and precious gems and things like that. They didn't take any of that, right? They wanted specific tablets and objects. So ask yourself this, okay? Why do all archaeological discoveries around the world require military intervention? If it doesn't have to do with world leaders in agreement, what else is UNESCO? Why are they all taken over by specific institutions afterwards? It doesn't matter where in the world it is. There's only specific institutions who are allowed to take over. And why is independent study always denied? It's not to maintain the integrity and the safety of the site. These institutions themselves plant trees and grass over the top of sites. They themselves rip apart structures to move them out of the country and away from where they were. And they control whatever information is found. Hell, at Göbekli Tepe, they put up walkways so they could charge people to come see it. And they put steel girders and cement into the site itself, into the structures, completely ruining them forever. So it's not to maintain the integrity at all. But those institutions are run by the World Economic Forum. And who are those people? The Bilderberg Group. Do we see how it's all connected? So when Hertog speaks of worldwide subterranean channels and scientific technology in them, oh, he's probably right. He's probably for sure right. He may not even know how right he was, right? Oh, yeah, and Auntie says they've also stopped the dig at Göbekli Tepe. Yeah, they're just charging money to see it now. They've already removed everything they want to remove, right? Right. Okay. All right. Spainman says weapons of current paradigm destruction. Yes. They might be weapons of mass destruction, but it was more like we can't let this technology get out, right? So whether Hertog meant it this way or not, the Great White Brotherhood seems to be the Bilderberg Group from his perspective, right? And they own everything, even you. They harness the tech, then they sell it back to you. But the God energy, the Force in Star Wars, right, doesn't keep ledgers. There are no ledgers to sell these things back to you. Luke said, the Force is not a power you wield, it's a relationship. Her talk says our past lives mean we owe a debt. And to be able to ascend, we have to pay off, right? Right? Our debts, our hundreds of lives, right? We've got to pay it off. Palpatine said, suffering earns power. That's what it sounds like to me. Her talk says your obedience earns your ascension. You have to earn it. Modern Abrahamic religion says you have to earn it, right? That you start in a negative. You're born a sinner. You're bad from the get-go. Organized religion tells you your pain earns you life after death. But they all get their blessings now. Well, that doesn't seem quite fair. Kind of like how the TVA won't allow anyone to deviate from their approved timeline. And the powers that be only allow you to know what aligns with their vision. They get to write the story. They write the narrative. They rewrite the history. And that's all you get to know. You are on their timeline. They are pruning everything else. But it's something called psychological slavery. Okay. Meaning, I'm born guilty. I'll never be good enough. I'm a sinner. I'm unhealthy. I have to pay for other people's mistakes. I'm just a lowly primate, right? All of this is for control. 100% for control. The Force, the God energy, the source, whatever you want to call it, doesn't do karma. Karma is how energy flows, but the God Force, source, doesn't do karma. The real God doesn't perform audits. It's weird. Real freedom is not on a spreadsheet. God is not Santa Claus checking his list twice to see who's naughty and nice. That's not how creative energy works. You are not born in debt. You were not born dirty. You were not born a sinner. You are a divine creation, and the earth wanted you here. You were made at a specific time with specific energy for a specific reason. Why? Because nature abhors a vacuum, and there was a missing space, right? There was an empty space that only you could fill. That is divine creation right there. So tear up the contract, whatever it is that says you're bad and you owe a debt and you have to make up for it, and karma, and paying for your family's karma and other people's karma and past life karma, and somehow you're dirty. Rip up the contract and be who you were truly meant to be. Just you. And that's divine in and of itself. All right, guys, thank you for being here with me tonight. The show schedules have gotten a little bit off simply because, Adrian and I are finishing out our shows. And so this Friday we have 3B of the modern Jewish homeland. So we'll be talking about the Sephardic Jews. We talked about the Ashkenaz Jews at the last one. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch that. We're going to do 3B and talk about the homeland of the Sephardic Jews. Spoiler alert, it's not Israel. And then on the 7th, Adrian and I are going to finish out that series on Khazaria, the Khazarian Jews, and talk about the actual missing Hebrews. There were really 13 tribes, but the 12 tribes of Israel were scattered. And who are the missing Hebrews? Where did they come from? And what do we have proof of? So that's what we're going to talk about on the 7th. The next Wednesday, I will be back here with the keys of Enoch. Maggie, aka Gnostic Outsider. Yeah. And thank you, Adrian. Great final message. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Vincent's talking about the weaponized bullshit. Yeah, definitely. So I'll be back here on Wednesday. So hopefully I'll see you guys Friday. If not, I will see you next Wednesday. And I'm going to show you a picture of my dog.
Please like the video if you haven't already. It really helps the algorithm to know what kind of things you like. Share where you think it's appropriate, especially to someone who you think needs to hear it. And don't forget to check out some of the wilder Pivot Point Wednesday shows. And last, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to break down complex concepts that make the esoteric not so teric, helping you on your journey to become your most authentic self. By subscribing, you'll join a community that thrives on curiosity and growth, and you'll never miss out on insights and some wild discussions. Let's uncover the universe together.